So let's get started right away. I love hearing anything you guys have to say. So by all means, feel free to chat in, and I'll just kind of keep letting people in. So thanks everybody for coming tonight. It's an exciting time. So we missed the new moon by just 3 days, and there's like this little portal of about 3 days. Welcome, Heather. Um, a portal of about 3 days after our new moon. And so this is like the perfect timing. It's a really cool time of year too, because when we think back, the last time we had a portal like this between eclipses would have been in April or May. So if you guys journal and you happen to have some journals around, I urge you to look back in and around between April and May, like mid-April to beginning of May, at what things were going on for you at that time. What things were happening around that time? Around April, May was a big shift for a lot of people. And again, it's this sort of, we call it almost like bookends. It's like the beginning and the start of something, the death and the birth of something. And I like to call myself a frequency doula, where we're literally noticing these contractions. When I was a doula for births, what would happen is I would really just try and get the couple through the 1 minute of the contractions, because the contraction is only about a minute long, and then everything in between is kind of like you get this break, you get this space between the breath, everything is fine, and then that contraction comes again, and we feel it, and we don't like it, and we want to move away from it. So what I do is teach people to move into that contraction, to allow that contraction to work for you. And so now with coaching, what I get to do is sort of guide people through these contractionary states, because what happens after a contraction is a huge expansion. And this huge expansion is about to be happening this week into the next week. We have this opposite bookend. So the beginning of our bookend was October 25th with the new moon and the partial lunar eclipse. And then we get to move to about November 8th, where that lunar eclipse will take over. And so this is a big portal that we get to create our magic in, kind of like our birthdays. I don't know if you guys knew this, but your birthday, the 3 days around, the day before, the day of, and the day after your birthday, are also a portal. This is where birthday wishes came from. This is where blowing out the candle on the cake came from. It's a portal to answer all of your wishes. And so this is kind of a time where we get to, oh, you have a birthday now too. Oh, this is really exciting. So this moon is going to be really strong for you too. November 18th. That's cool. So that would be moving into what? Taurus, I guess. And so that's a beautiful energy. Your masculine energy will be, it's like your questions will be answered, just because this is truly the time. So yes, happy birthday for November. That's exciting. And happy birthday to any other Scorpios that might be having birthdays right now, because this is definitely a huge manifestation window. So it's quite exciting. So think about that birthday candle that you're going to blow out and what you're going to wish for, because it's a good chance that it'll come true. Kind of cool, right? And so in these portals are an exciting time, because we get to examine our book of life, per se. When we have our book of life, it's like this book that we've been writing. If we were to sort of go back, and I always love journals, because journals are truly our story, right? They are our words that we can look back on, where we can understand where we're coming from, where we're going, what kind of stories we're telling ourselves, what kind of manifestations may be coming up and maybe actually going on in our lives, looking at the words that we're really sort of saying and using to ourselves. So I love being able to, in this portal, in a safe space, I've created a bit of a circle today, because I really felt bringing all of the energies in. We're going to bring in the spirit guides of the archangels and the different beautiful, powerful healings that they have. And we're going to go into a little meditation in a little while where we are going to meditate, and we're also going to have a bit of a recode. And so for anybody that hasn't done a recode before, all it is basically a way that we can talk to our whole conscious field, our super conscious field, we call it, together. So our unconscious mind and our conscious mind are working together to try and sort of keep us achieving our goals, keep us, writing our story, keep our hopes alive, keep our true nature and purpose. But what happens is that unconscious mind can be a little bit stronger sometimes, because those are the stories that we have been writing for many, many years. And when we look at our states of consciousness per se, there's there's a lot of people describe them in different ways as far as states go. A state of consciousness is really our aura, how we are, how we are projecting ourselves out into the world. And our unconscious can have a lot of control over that, where you find yourself kind of going, oh, this just isn't me, or a part of me kind of took over. That's where that unconscious mind will sometimes take over to keep us safe. It is very, very good at keeping us safe. Where our conscious mind wants to create and experience, our unconscious mind is the one that sort of really keeps us safe. And keeping us safe can be a detriment in our older years, because being safe is basically saying that we are going to belong somewhere, we are going to be loved, we are going to receive love, this is how we're going to achieve love, this is how we're going to literally find our place in the world. And when we want to kind of step out of the book that we've written in the past, it can feel really uncomfortable, and we can have a lot of resistances to moving forward, hence getting in our own way, or feeling stuck, or feeling like you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Well, the beautiful thing about this time, in sort of cosmic energy wise, is what's been happening is we've been taking many steps forward. However, those steps back seem really big right now. It's like, I feel like I'm back to square one. But when we really look at things, we've actually come a really long way. We're not all the way back to where we were. But it's very strong, these things that are coming up for us right now, showing us exactly what isn't working for us, exactly where we don't want to be, exactly what we don't want to feel. So I want you to just think over the last couple of weeks how things have been. And if you've been noticing things that have been coming up that have been fairly highly emotionally charged, or even really trying to tell you something. And I want you to just kind of really sort of examine the last couple of weeks. Has there been things popping up? Have you been feeling maybe some feelings that you haven't felt since April, May? Or here's one even further. The last time we had, I love that. Oh, we beat ourselves up, don't we? Like, we so beat ourselves up. But eating like a clown, that's my favorite term, Heather. Eat like a clown. And we look at, why are we eating like a clown? It's because we wanted to sort of get out of our comfort zone, and that is going to keep us safe, because that is going to keep us from wanting to be seen. I love it. Steal away. It's a good one, right? I stole it from someone too. I remember this girl was like, my God, I've just been eating like a clown. And I laughed so hard. And I thought, that's exactly what I did the other day. I ate popcorn for dinner. Like, that's eating like a clown, right? We know better. So when we notice that we're doing these things, we can take these beautiful, valuable lessons from them, right? Even if it's like, for my with my teenagers over the last couple of weeks, I got to a state where I was angry, and I haven't been angry in a long time. I'm a really happy, peaceful person. Like, anger is not me. but who I was in the anger. And I realized, I actually had to kind of stop, ask myself, like, who, take a breath here, lady. Like, what is going on? Why are you so angry? And it came up. It was all about being protective. I was trying to force my daughter's way. I didn't want her to go through pain. So in order to stop her from going through the pain I went through as a teenager, I was going to do everything in my possible realm to stop this from happening. And that's what it was. I was trying to force it. And it's her journey. If she's going to go forward and make these mistakes, this is her journey. I can't stop everything bad from happening to her. And if I do, which came up with some other clients over the last couple of weeks, where I got to see firsthand what it does to a child when you don't allow them to experience these things, when you're always directing and always controlling everything, they feel like they're not allowed for the rest of their lives. Because as a child, until we're about 7, we live in theta state. We live in true healing, source energy, connectedness. They are such beautiful little creatures of energy, right? Like, you see a kid, they just play, they're in imagination, that's sort of that healing state. That's it's such a beautiful thing. It's after they turn about 8 that they start to get a little salty and sour, right? Like, they start to kind of take on our traits, they start to take on our beliefs, we've forced it enough that they finally get it. But as they get older, it's like we have to go through this growth as a parent to allow them to continue to evolve and change and make mistakes, because that's how we learned, isn't it? But as a parent, we want to stop it. And I felt like digging my heels in. I was like trying so hard to force something. That's where the anger was coming from. It was about all sorts of boundaries being crossed. And so we can look at those opposite emotions. We can dial into those a little bit. If we're feeling anger, it's often because our boundaries have been crossed, or we're feeling like we have to protect something, protect ourselves. We're feeling that crossing of boundaries. And so it's like this really cool tool to be able to go, okay, so anger, that's not me. And so I had to choose to let that go. I had to meditate like crazy. I had to really get back into breathing, really had to get back into all the things I teach people to be able to just kind of shift out of that. But I was able to shift out of it. And this is the difference. When we're not in our conscious mind, when we're letting the unconscious run the show, we can stay in that anger. And I think about how awful it would have been and how much more I would have fucked her up if I had stayed in that anger and if I had stayed in that state, right? When we're conscious and we can actually take a breath and respond versus just react, we're going to create a whole bunch more good vibrations in our life and everyone else's life around us, versus keeping them all stuck with us in this contracted state. And so I urge you to look into some of those contractionary states that you've felt over the last little while and allow it to be your teacher, because this is the thing, right? We kind of know this. If we don't take the wisdom from what is coming up, it is just going to continue to come up. And this is sometimes why shit has to proverbially hit the fan and completely break down your structure and break things down before you have a change, before you start to build again, where you see where people are in such a state where they almost don't even want to live anymore, right? We can change our states from being that low to being a whole lot higher by just shifting our frequency. So I have gone into so many ways of shifting our frequency. And if for some reason you guys haven't been able to catch any of those videos, I have so many on shifting the frequency, easy ways to essential oils, meditation, breath work, you name it. So we're going to kind of skip past some of that stuff today. And we're just going to talk a little bit more about the stories that we've been telling ourselves. Now, when we think about stories, and if we were to sort of choose to write our story, to choose to take our power back, to choose to be the enlightened souls that we know that we are, it's quite an amazing feat to take that pen and be able to write a few things down. So I want you to imagine, say a month from now, where you would really like things to be. If you were to truly be able to tap in and sort of take your power, what are some of the things that you would like to create in the next month, say before Christmas, even just maybe even creating some states of being, um, not necessarily something like a chimera, a beautiful car or something like that, but something where you're actually just in a state of ease and grace, or feeling safe, feeling like feeling like it's okay to be seen. And so even for, I love what Chris shared there, beating yourself up for being too shy. So that's a beautiful thing to notice. That's not me anymore. I'm not that shy little person that had to hide, that couldn't get myself out there. I'm who am I going to be? And we get to actually create this. Ooh, in the funny. Oh, I love that. Have it in the funnel with money coming into the bank account. I love it. So if we see it, it's already done. Really imagining it. The funnel's done. It's actually finished. It's out there. People can click on it. And when you open your bank account, there's more money in there than you ever thought that there was. Sometimes we're even afraid to open our bank account because it's like, I don't even want to know what's in there. So I don't tend to look at it. Um, what would normally stop me from that? What are the things that would kind of keep me from doing that, or some of the things that we can start looking at? And isn't it interesting, Chris, when you went out with dinner for dinner, was there a point when you went out when you kind of decided maybe even that you didn't belong, you didn't know what you were going to talk about, so you chose to kind of go into the default of being quiet, kind of not talking, not opening up? Whereas if we kind of chose that, yeah, absolutely play it safe. And there was probably something that was making you feel a little bit unsafe. Maybe there was something that even happened, someone that was coming, someone that would normally be judgmental if you were to say, yeah, I produced this song today, or I did this today. We might be afraid that they're not going to love us, or that they would judge us, or we're not going to belong. So what we do is we actually just kind of go into our default of keeping quiet, so that no one we're not going to do it. We're just not going to give ourselves that opportunity to be judged or to be shut down. We actually choose to be shut out. We actually choose to not belong. Isn't Does that make sense? Like, it's so weird, right? Like, we actually choose that. And that's because our unconscious mind knows that. Our unconscious mind knows that we can play it safe. We've survived that. We haven't necessarily survived going in and saying, yeah, I did this and this and that. And what about abandonment? No one would want to be abandoned. So we're just not going to take that chance. We're just not going to allow that to happen. And that's what we focus on. So because we're focusing on it, that's exactly what happens, right? This is exactly how we manifest these things we don't want right into fruition. Just by making sure it's never going to happen, we basically make sure it's never going to happen. So we stay exactly where we know that we can survive. It's such a catch 22. But what we're going to do is, a lot of times what I find is we do a lot of mindset work. We do a lot of imagining, where we're going to be, how things are going to be. But I found, especially over the last little while, there's a lot of people that don't know. They can't even see exactly what it is they want. They don't know what they want because we've, of course, spent so much time just making sure we're going to be safe, so much time we're not, we don't belong. We focus on that so much. We don't even know how to actually do what makes us happy. We don't even know for sure what we want. And if we do start to get it, we start to question it. But these things that we want, these things that pop into our head, like today, I was in a shop that I know, and the people are good friends, and they bought this tower that is a grow tower that you can put all your seeds in and plant vegetables all day. It's got this big light. And I was like, I've always wanted one of those. And I was like, oh, That's what I want. I've always wanted one of those. Listen to those things that you say. Oh, I've always wanted to do that. Oh, I've always, like, that's always piqued my interest, you know? And it was just like, oh, it's right in front of me. He's like, oh, I'm a distributor for them. I can get you one. I'm like, yes. You know, like it was just like such a, yes, I could grow vegetables all winter because it's been sad getting away from, I'm such a gardener. It's been so sad getting away from the garden and knowing that it's the last bit that's coming out. So if we were to think about our life, I love thinking about it as a proverbial garden right now. What kind of seeds did we plant in April, May? Where, or even in 2014, the last time we had a big 2 week portal like this between the eclipses like this, what were some of those seeds that we planted back then? And did they grow? Did we nourish them? Did we allow them to grow into the trees that we know that they can be, or the plants? Because think about this, this is what we're going to eat. This is our fruit. This is what we are going to survive on, and this is what we were planting. And sometimes we just didn't even look back at it. We didn't give it that water. We didn't allow it to have that nourishment. We planted the seeds, but we never really, made sure it was all fertile. We never made sure that we were making sure that the weeds weren't outgrowing it. Sometimes we forgot that we even planted some of these seeds. So this gives us a bit of a chance to look back on some of these seeds that we had planted. So I want you to think about these stories that we tell ourselves. I want you to think about these seeds that we have planted. And I want you to think about your story and whether you're ready to allow this eclipse season to help us close that book of being shy, of not belonging, of being abandoned. What if we closed that book on the good things happened, but bad things always, were the result, or I did this and that happened. What if we shone some light today on some of these areas, some of these old stories that, that just don't fit us anymore. Some of these personas, these identities, these almost as though we were looking and reading a story about someone that just isn't us anymore. And if feelings have been coming up lately where you're just like really kind of feeling triggered, really feeling not yourself, those are those old stories that we're kind of ready to let go of, those old frequencies, those old emotions, those old beliefs that we're really ready to close the book on and take our power back and become the author. We are the main character. We get to choose what it is that we want. And if we align those photons with what we want, there's a universal law that just allows that to be duplicated. So we only need to be able to see it. Now, if we can't see it, if we're having a hard time knowing what we want, knowing what our soul's purpose is, it's often because there's just a lot of clutter in the energetic field. There's a lot of clutter in the chakras. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of stuff. And for some people, there's a lot more stuff than others. Some people, we can do this work and they literally just be like, you know what, I'm really ready to just stop my procrastinations, whatever it is. Stop constantly planting, not looking to see what creative, right? Don't we just clutter everywhere? Are we just, that's what I felt last time. I was like, just throwing a bunch of seeds out, kind of hoping for the best, but then not even coming back to the garden. It's just like we're planting these seeds, but we're so busy doing all the things. And this masculine energy that's sort of run us for the last couple months, switched to feminine energy this last month. So people found that they were in action, they were doing all sorts of things, but they still weren't getting towards where they were going because we were doing all sorts of things. We were doing all sorts of things to keep us busy, but not necessarily doing the things that we really needed to do to get ourselves moving forward, like embracing that feminine action and taking care of ourselves, connecting with our body, resting. If we were resting, we were beating ourselves up for resting, or we were feeling bad for, oh, I shouldn't be lying down. I should be doing this, I should be doing the action. So then we get up and kind of force ourselves through the action and we keep going into the action, right? So this is a time where our masculine energy is kind of picking back up, but it needs the perfect balance of the feminine energy to sort of help it to achieve what it really needs to achieve, in that we're not just going to be busy doing things. We're going to be busy doing the aligned actions, the actions that really kind of take us where we need to go. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I just need the funnel. But guess what? We can have the funnel. If we're not putting the funnel out there, no one's going to see it, right? And I noticed that even with myself. I have a funnel for, we have a class starting up next week. And there was, for me, some resistance in just putting it out there, because I never want to be salesy. I never want to, it's not about the money, right? And this is a time where I'm charging for the course instead of just offering it for free. My free stuff I'll put all over the place because I love just being able to show up and teach. There's really this blockage, and so it comes back to, where does that come from? And I remember vows, and when I tested it, I was working with Verena, actually, we tested it. It's like from 5 generations back in a past life of a vow or a contract that I had. It's not even my stuff, but for my whole life, I felt bad about taking money from people. I remember my mom putting something on her debit card for clothes, and I was almost in tears as like a 9-year-old at the cash desk, feeling so bad that she was paying for stuff because I knew we didn't have it. So it just sort of reinforce that, right? Reinforce that. So I either have to choose the pain of feeling being judged or the pain of being shy. I'll choose the former and go through it. Oh, I love that. And this is where it comes to just sort of pushing through that fear. The thing is our muscle, we don't have a muscle that pushes through the pain of being shy because it's not one that we've ever really worked. So we have to look at how can we start working that muscle just a little bit every day. It doesn't have to be getting out there and going on, stage or starting to talk to every woman, and just be like, hey, how you doing? It doesn't have to be super extreme. It can be one little thing. It can be stepping out of your comfort zone just a smidge, recreating that divot in the hippocampus, actually letting it smooth out, actually choosing to lean into that pain of being shy a little bit. So maybe it's, some people start with something like Toastmasters, or some people start with just doing little recordings, doing little videos. Even if you're not putting them out, it's like starting to do something very, very small. And how meditation is so beautiful is we are going to go into a space where you can literally just ask, what is it that I need to do to move through this pain of being shy? What is it I need to do to start working that muscle? And we just close our eyes and we just allow. This is when those beautiful thoughts come in, because we don't need to know it all. And this is how the recode is going to help a little bit throughout this meditation, because what I do is just use some terms and phrases to align that superconscious field, the unconscious and the conscious mind together, to know that we actually just want to move through life to succeed, to have the feelings of love and ease and grace and flow, versus feeling another certain way. So it actually enables us to kind of line this up. I love that. Being a comedian, I've heard that comedians can be some of the most shyest, awkwardest people that are out there, but they can go out because they have this ability to make people laugh. And the hearing people laugh, making people happy, you want that more than you do, that's a stronger pull than being judged or being, abandoned or not being loved, because you're getting that love in a bit of a different way. So that's absolutely beautiful. It's a default state. And the default states are what we're going to go to whenever we're in trauma or stress. That's our default. And so what I always talk about is recalibrating our default a little bit. So we can actually look at, shy would be a lower vibration. Something that would be sort of opposite of shy, but not too big, would be acceptance. What if I just accepted the fact that not everybody's going to love me, right? Like, even for me getting out here, I know this isn't for everybody, but I do know that it's really for some. And for those that that are touched by it, and are those some are the ones that make it all worth it. When I got into my end result of, really making a difference for people, where even if I can give them hope that they can take their power back, that they can feel strong again, that they can want to live, that they can enjoy life again, even if it's just like, I ran into someone today who I hadn't seen for probably about 6 months, and she'd been through such a hard time, and she's like, oh my gosh, just being with you, like I just feel it, like I just, like, I'm like, can I just give you a hug? We didn't have to have words. It was just that energy exchange, just, she knows she's safe, she knows it's peaceful, she knows I get it, and that, she's like, you just brought me through this whole weekend. It was going to be a rough weekend, and I feel like I can do this now. And I was like, it's so beautiful. I didn't even say anything. She's like, you don't have to, it's just, it's that trust, that knowing. And these levels of consciousness that I was talking about, we often look at it like, there's our story is, things are always happening to me. Like, why is this happening to me? When we're living at a level where we feel like things are happening to us, we're not connected to divine energy. We're not connected to our power. We're not connected to what we can create. We're living in a story that we've told over and over again. And it's kept us safe. It's kept us, somewhat often safe. It's not always the case, but we've survived it. And that's all the unconscious mind cares about. It's here to keep you alive. And so when we kind of shift up a little bit to, things can happen by me, where, I actually can kind of control these things. We are very big about control. I find that's kind of usually where our stories come from, is we're trying to control things. So the key here is allowing and surrendering. And at that point, you go past the to me, you go past the by me, you go right through to the through me, or I am source energy. I have the ability, I have direct connectedness to source. I have all the support I need, because a lot of times we don't feel like we're supported. We feel like we're sort of all doing this all on our own, right? 3-year anniversary. I love that. Oh, that's funny. You could have I've had this like funny stand-up comedy type of routine going through my head of the unconscious mind, and kind of like all of the limiting beliefs that come up, that it's like they all wear t-shirts, they all kind of have these funny things like the procrastination kind of thing, and it's like, okay, procrastination, get on board. She wants to do a lot today. Let's make sure she gets nothing done. Let's terrify her with all the things that could go wrong. There's all these, the way that our subconscious kind of talks to us. I think that I don't know. I think it's hilarious. My kids don't get it, but like, wouldn't that be funny? They're like, yeah, not really, Mom. That's really not that funny. You think you are, but it is. It's like, yeah, just personifying each of those ego points, right? And it's I think it's hilarious. So I'd be up there laughing like crazy, Chris. That'd be so great. And this is it. You wouldn't want to do comedy if it wasn't in your higher self. We have these timelines, right? So we can create the story for our highest timeline. And that's what I want to do today. I want us to write the story for the highest version of ourselves, the version that we know is inside of us. And if we don't know that version, I want to think about the things that inspire you. What lights you up? What just makes you happy? For me, gardening, that's a huge thing. What if I got one of these towers? Boy, I could have so much lettuce going. I could bring it to the food bank every day. I could be providing my whole town with meals just because I wanted to have this garden tower, not because, like, I love sharing my vegetables. Half the time we get such a huge harvest that we are able to share it. And I love sticking zucchinis in the back of people's cars when they're at our place, or they get home and they find these vegetables. Not everyone likes zucchinis, I found, but you stick a bag of potatoes in there and they're pretty darn happy, or some fresh carrots from the garden. fresh vegetables just make people so happy, and that's something I love doing. So these garden towers, just like, oh, hadn't thought of them before, never, never would have probably thought of it in this next. So, well, had I not gone to get my water today and found this beautiful, huge tower in the middle of their place. I love it. Absolutely. I can't wait. I'll give you some good ideas too if you if you want. It's funny. I love this, Chris. So think about this. Think about this new story that we get to write. This portal is so huge for allowing these things to come into fruition that it's really no joke, right? And first draft, yeah, we'll go with that. Um, but we've had a lot of planets in retrograde. There's still a few in retrograde that are kind of bringing up past stuff. And so I want us to really look at the things that have been either triggering us or just kind of popping up in the last little while, that are really asking for a shift, that are really asking to be let go. Because when we get rid of this gunk in the energetic field, when we can clear a lot of this out, these ideas can really come in. These true manifestation points that we are meant to be moving towards can really come through with the clarity and the releasing of a lot of these old patterns and a lot of these old stories. So I want you to think of a few old stories that you're kind of ready to let go of. That story of being chaotic and cluttered, or being really shy, or, not knowing what we want, or the stories that you have been telling yourself, those stories that kind of keep you from where you're going. So if I was to, I'm going to get you guys just into the choice of being that real predominant creative force in our life, that real predominant power, where we choose to take our power back, when we choose to shift our frequency. And my best advice and my most favorite biohack to get out of any kind of lower vibrational frequency, like anger, fear, grief, any of those sort of lower frequency vibrations, is to get right into gratitude or appreciation. You can't be in two places at once, and you can't create something out of lack if you're in lack. You can't create something out of abundance if you're not in that, right? Like, you have to be in a vibration to create a vibration. So when we get into the state of appreciation or gratitude, and trust me, when I was angry, it was hard to get into gratitude, right? It's not an easy thing, but the universe gives us these keys when we're not seeing it. It'll allow us to see certain things. I was asking, I literally was asking for a sign to show me that I'm on the right path. Because, some days you got to question it. And for me, my major sign is an eagle. And I hadn't said anything to my kids, and my daughter was like, holy, look at that eagle in the tree outside. And there's never been an eagle sitting in the tree outside. But literally, we woke up in the morning the next day, and there was this beautiful eagle sitting in a tree right outside my barn, just sitting there, just bending the tree. She was so big, watching us. And it was like, what are the chances? She wasn't going after anything. She wasn't there because something was dead. Because usually that's the first thing I think is, oh God, something's dead, when all these predator birds start to come in. Nope, it was just this beautiful eagle. And then 15 minutes later, we were driving, and there was two of the biggest eagles I've ever seen in my whole life flying on the side of the road. And it was like they were all flying with us. It was like, it was the wildest thing. And this has happened before with eagles. And I have a really strong connection with them and some people that have passed. And it was just that divine sign that I needed. And then I pulled a card later that day, and it was, you are doing, you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. Don't let that. And it's like, I know this. Sometimes we just need those signs. Asking for those signs are really fun. Asking the universe to play with you is a really fun way to get those indicators every day that you are on the right path, that you are doing the right things. So allowing yourself to ask for signs, ask questions, ask what it is that your greatest soul purpose is meant for. If you're not sure, one of the most beautiful things that it almost always comes down to, especially with light workers and people that are doing this work, because you're here right now, because obviously you're, doing some work. Oh, eagles are so amazing. These were huge. Like, I don't think I've ever seen such huge eagles. It was just like, okay, I laughed. I always laugh. I'm like, thank you, universe, like, thank you, super conscious, for showing me these eagles, because it was just that little bit of enlightenment I had needed. However, had I been in anger or fear or grief, I might not have appreciated them like that. I might not have even seen them for what they were. Although eagles are pretty majestic, those can switch around your mood pretty darn quickly. But I had to get into appreciation. And that day, I was with a mom who has the most beautiful daughter and son, and her son is going through his third round of cancer. Like, he's got 18 new brain nodules, and she's just, talking away like everything is just, this is life for her. And it made me just appreciate for a minute life, right? Like having health, having these things that we don't have to go through. And it was just like, oh my gosh, and I'm getting angry about a boy that she wants to date. Like, really? it was almost ridiculous, the things that I'm trying to control. And this is the beauty of writing our story. The story is what we can control and what we can't. And the things that we can control are our own vibrations, our own frequencies, and our own GPS point, where we are going. If we want something stronger than not wanting something, that energy is going to go there instead. And so we're always like, oh, I'm so worried about focusing too much on this or that. The true key is knowing what we want and wanting it more than anything else. And so this new chapter, this new story is going to be, what is it that you really want? What is it that that is going to really propel you forward? Because this contractionary state right now, it is because there is a full-on expansion coming. And I want us to embrace this with every cell of our being. And I love this. Thank you so much for sharing this, Chris. Personify the shy part. You can even, one of the fun things I like doing is in personifying my anxiety or my panic. I'm like, well, hello, anxiety. What are you doing here? And I get this like accent going in my head, and I sort of talk to it and kind of name it, right? But like, actually throw out some really goofy accents. Make it almost like a friend that you're just like, no, we don't need you here today. We're not going to be using your negative energy, and just kind of almost joke around with it and choose almost the opposite. And if we're not sure what the opposite is, just dive straight into appreciation and gratitude, because those are such high frequencies that it literally will not allow those lower frequencies to come in. When I stopped, and I was just so grateful that I still had my 15-year-old and I hadn't murdered her yet, and I hadn't made her walk home, and that, we're able to have this conversation and shift things. It was like, everything's been great, everything's been wonderful. I feel myself sort of slipping back in when I hear her talking to him, or I see his name pop up on the phone, and I'm just kind of, the eye twitches, and I just turn around and go, oh, hello, anger. Yes, I see you. We're not going there again, because slamming doors was not fun. Like, I literally found myself saying, like, this is not me. I do not, like, I can't know, like, this is not a vibration I want to be at. And recognizing that this is enlightenment, this is ascension, this is taking your power back, noticing I was in victim mode and I was staying there, and I stayed there for like 3 days, and it was miserable. I didn't sleep. Then I stopped going to bed on time. Then I started eating like a clown. I started doing all these, I stopped meditating in the morning. I stopped doing my gratefulness at night because I was pissed. I was going to bed mad, and it was like, that was not me. Now, everything, and it could have just cycloned and spiraled, and I just could have been worse than I ever was before. And after all these years of doing this work, it's like, no, I'm not going there anymore. I'm not letting myself go there. I'm stronger than that, taking that power back. That's the shift. It's beautiful. High octane spiritual stand-up comic. Ooh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, imagine teaching people to be able to embrace their comedy, their own spiritual stand-up comic. Ooh, I like this. I like this. And we know that doing these things that we love is just going to allow more and more of these things that we love. Who knows what will happen at one of these comedy shows that you're at, who you're going to meet, the people we run into when we're on the same vibration as other people, right? When we're in that vibration where people are coming to laugh, they're coming to enjoy you. That is a beautiful vibration to have people on with you. So before I get too carried away, I could just keep talking and talking about all these, this is, all these acceleration of dreams and things that are about to happen, because it's so about to happen. It's just so there. We're like on this precipice. If we could just surrender and know that this is all meant to be, and that we're all on this path, and that we, with just a little bit more light, we're going to be able to just shine brighter and shine further, and these little birthday wishes are just going to be dropping right into our lap. So I would love to invite you guys to do a little meditation with me and get into a position where you're comfortable, whether you're sitting or lying, where you can just close your eyes, and we're going to go on a little beach journey, and I'm going to take you guys through creating a circle. And I want you to imagine right now that you're just connecting with your breath, that we don't have to force it, but what I would love you to do is take a deep breath in through your nose and fill up your belly. And as you breathe out, I want you to just breathe out a little longer than you breathed in. Breathing out of your mouth, deflating your belly, almost like you're emptying out that diaphragm. The diaphragm holds all sorts of stale air. And when we've been in trauma, when things have been happening and we're chest breathing and we're like, or if we're, you sort of do that when things scare you or take your breath away, it all spirals up in that diaphragm. So by breathing out and relaxing that whole belly, we can allow that diaphragm to unwind, and we can allow all those little spirals to simply unspiral. And so just connecting with your breath, I want you to imagine that closing your eyes, allowing your face to just feel heavy. And if you guys are okay, just sort of in your minds, just allow me to connect with your super conscious fields. My body's already releasing. I love this. Just connecting into your super conscious field, and in this beautiful realm of all these memories that have happened one way or the other, all of the things we've put aside, stocked up for a rainy day. Maybe we have a lot of things we're just hanging on to just because. We're going to allow all of these things to just have this light of this beautiful lunar eclipse be shining, solar eclipse to lunar eclipse be shining down on us. So imagine right now that you're on a beach. We're going to go to a beach that has some water, but I want you to imagine that you're standing in the sand, and I would love for you to walk in a circle. We're going to create a circle around us. And I want you to imagine this circle of healing light, of healing energy, just drawing in this lunar eclipse energy. And imagine that your feet are kind of like swishing out. You're taking these nice long strides and you're walking in a circle. I love walking in a clockwise circle. If you were walking in a counterclockwise circle already, that is fine. Keep going that way. But after you've done a circle or two counterclockwise, I'd love for you to imagine, just like a clock, that you're moving around this circle, going from 12 to 1 to 2 to 3, just swishing your legs, feeling free, feeling like you're almost kicking out your legs as you're walking. Just imagine your legs just creating this energy in this circle, just creating a circle for yourself. And what I'm going to do is I'm taking some ash, which is just beautiful and grounding us, some ash from some sage that I've been burning, and some sage. And I'm literally taking it and I'm sprinkling it around myself and us in this beautiful, beautiful circle right now. We're calling in all the elements. And I'm also taking some water and essential oils. And we're going to spritz. I'm going to spritz in a circle to create the water element. Just creating this big, beautiful circle. Oh, and I also have 4 little bowls of water, salt water in each direction. So this is going to be super cleansing and powerful. All of this water, all of this earth energy. Oh, I've already got goosebumps going like crazy. And I'm going to do a little bit of energy work with us as we just allow ourselves to connect and step inside of this circle. And I want you to imagine this circle as a safe place where all of the sun, all of the moon, and all of the stars' energy are starting to come in from the very top of your head. And I would love for you to just imagine standing in this circle and feeling this power, feeling this light energy start to literally come down from the top of your head, almost like it's just being trickled in like beautiful light plasma, like it knows exactly where to go in your body. And imagine your whole skull opening up to allow this beautiful light energy in. This light energy that is going to just cleanse and purify each center of our body, each part of our aura, each layer of consciousness. And imagine that light starting to expand through every single cell of your body. Imagine it coming down through the head, coming down through your third eye. And imagine there's maybe even some pressure in the forehead, right between the eyebrows. You can even look towards that area with your eyeballs. You can imagine actually looking at that third eye. And imagine that light just starting to come down through your forehead, through your eyes, and through your ears. Imagining that all this light is starting to move through your ear chakras and your throat chakra, allowing you to hear the truth and to feel okay with speaking the truth. And I want you to just imagine this light moving all the way down through the throat chakra. You can feel some clearing needing to happen there. So I'm just going to help that along with some energy work here. And we're just going to imagine that this light is moving down through the throat. This is where it often gets bottlenecked. Sometimes it's things that are down below in the heart chakra, and allow that light to move down into your shoulders, down your arms, your elbows, forearms, wrists. Imagine that light moving down to each fingertip. Imagining the tingling as that light just starts to move through this beautiful divine light, coming all the way from the sun, moon, and stars. And right now, I want you to imagine your feet all the way down to the bottom, starting to feel magnetic towards the earth. As this light starts to fill the top half of your body, I want you to imagine that your feet are starting to grow roots, and it's like they are tapping and growing down into the earth, like they're looking for water. And I want you to feel those roots growing from your feet until they actually tap into the water. And I want you to feel that water, that earth's energy, that beautiful Mother Earth, start to give you this crystalline energy, water cleansing. And allow this energy to start coming up through these roots into your feet, moving all the way up around the tops of your feet, the bottoms, your heels, your ankles. Allow that energy to start moving through your feet and ankles. Moving up your legs, moving up the calves, moving up the knees. The knees are big for pointed where you're going, that direction that you want to be going in. This is where we keep a lot of the secrets that we don't want people to know, that internal self that we're hiding. It's ready to be cleansed and transmuted. These things are no longer serving us. And we're going to allow this energy, this crystalline, beautiful water energy, to come up from Mother Earth and fill our knees and our thighs and move up to our pelvis. As we feel it start to go into our root chakra, into all those generational traumas and stories that we've heard. And this light is going to start shining some beautiful light, some beautiful energy on some of these stories that we've kept in there. Some of these stories that keep us too grounded to the things that we don't want. They keep us anchored. Where are we ready to pull up some of these anchors, close some of these books, allow some of these personalities and some of these parts of us to come together in working to keep us safe, but not keeping us stuck? Imagine if we turned some of this protection that we had into power, into knowing that we can discern between good and bad, that we know what's good for us and what's not good for us. What as we move in up into the sacral plexus, into the energy center of all of our finances and fears and all those things we took on, all those personas that we had to take on. What personas don't fit anymore? Think of those things that were ready to shift. The person that shouldn't be in charge of a company. I keep saying, oh gosh, I don't know who was thinking this when they gave me this job, but they gave me that job and I'm smashing it. Stop telling these stories to ourselves. We are perfectly capable. All of these beliefs are set in these lower chakras, that sacral plexus, this solar plexus right above your belly button, where all our wishes and our true desires are just hiding, but we just stifle and hold them back. This book that we wrote is very interesting, and it is, I bet people have even told you, you should write a book. Now I want you to close that book. I want you to imagine either closing the chapter, going to a new chapter, and future journaling for yourself as the I am. And I want you to write in this journal these new personas that you are going to take on. Remember, you are the author of this story. With all this beautiful energy swirling and whirling and doing all its magic work, and I can feel it working, my body's shaking already. Things are being shaken up by this light. This is a light that you are shining in a portal that just makes it all glow and amplifies it into the whole universe. The people's lives that you can change by being the outgoing person, the person that just went for it, the person that didn't let things get in their way. And we're just going to ask that all of the parts and the personalities, our mother bears, our protector controller, what if we gave that protector controller a new job in protecting and controlling what we can control, instead of all those things we can't? Oh, the energy we pour into trying to change the things we cannot change. What if we gave some of these parts and personalities that have defragmented over time the job of truly keeping you in a flow of ease and grace, keeping you in a flow of love, keeping you in the energy of vibration? What if that became its new obsession? To keep you in the vibration of love and gratitude. What if we worked that muscle every day? What would your journal entry look like? And I want you to imagine writing a few things down in a beautiful, maybe leather-bound book. Maybe it's cork. Maybe it's a journal that you made. Maybe it's just a random little notebook. Maybe it's a note on your phone. But I want you to choose these new personas. I am organized. I am clarity. I operate from love. I live in expansion. And I want you to just imagine these beautiful new chapters. What would they be called? If you had a new chapter, what would it be called? The enlightening, the expansion, the shift. This is a time that we are ready for. We wouldn't be here right now. Just allowing this light to move through the body. I want you to know, what do you feel safe doing? What is something that gives you that feeling of safety? Just going to hold that heart because it feels like there's some resistance to that, and we're just going to get all the parts and personalities on board and tag and treat any resistance in the field moving towards safety and peace and security. Removing any resistance from being that true predominant creative author of our next chapter. And just doing a massive change history on all that. And tagging and treating any of these limiting beliefs that might prevent us from writing this new chapter. Those beliefs that we can't tell the truth, those beliefs that we can't be ourselves, those beliefs that we may be abandoned, or that we may not receive love, we may not ever get love, we may be judged, we may be left, we may be not wanted. Tagging and treating any of those beliefs of not belonging or not being capable, not being smart enough, not feeling good enough. Tagging and treating any of those beliefs of not being perfect. Do we have to be perfect to be out there? Do we really have to lose that 10 pounds before we do this? Do we really have to have a girlfriend or boyfriend before we believe we deserve love? I want you to imagine feeling that flow of ease and grace as your feet are tapped into that water of the earth. And I want you to imagine that you feel almost as though you're floating in that circle, that you've become as light as a feather, that this light energy is moving every single cell in your body in the way that it needs to move to shift away these old patterns, and doing a massive change history on all those limiting beliefs. And I want you to imagine floating towards the water, floating as though you are nothing but a big, beautiful blob of light cells, moving towards this water, realizing that you are the water, being one with the water. And I want you to imagine, even if you can't swim, I want you to imagine that your cells, all of these light cells, are so light and buoyant that you can actually literally just lay back and float and allow yourself to surrender to going downstream instead of paddling upstream, forcing and controlling every moment. I want you to, as you're starting to float, ask yourself, what gives you pleasure? What just makes you happy? What gives you that feeling of love and passion and growth? Perhaps it's helping people. Perhaps it's being with littles. Perhaps it's being with seniors and feeding off of their beautiful energy and their stories and their lust for life and enjoyment of every single day. Living each day to its fullest. Who do you love just being around? What's something you used to do that you used to just love? Perhaps it's teaching, perhaps it's singing. It's sharing your gifts with the world. This is why you're here. This is our soul's purpose. What are your gifts? Let this light shine on them with no judgment, no ego, just floating in the water and allowing yourself to know and ask, if you're not sure, what are my gifts? And we're going to bring Archangel Michael in right now from the south, this beautiful fire energy that's underneath. Archangel Michael is all about safety, about protection, feeling that safety, feeling that groundedness. It's time to make your move. Archangel Michael will help light workers tap into their gifts, tune into their gifts. Allow yourself to see what your gifts are right now with this beautiful light support. And ask for divine intervention. Ask Archangel Michael, what are my true gifts? What is my purpose? Am I ready to step out of my comfort zone to allow this to happen? And moving to the east, almost like you can point yourself or feel whatever part of your body is pointing towards the east. And ask for guidance and help from Archangel Raphael. That eastern energy is so beautiful. It's all about the rising sun and letting in the light, allowing your light to shine. And this is all about healing, asking for any healing in any areas of your body that need healing, to allow yourself to just honor your true gifts. Moving to the west and embracing this water, we're going to ask our Archangel Gabriel to step in, to guide and teach us how to connect with our heart, with source energy. And allowing this white light, this peaceful clearing and cleaning energy to just move through your whole body, setting in the feeling of eternal hope. And just allow this feeling to wash over you. Such hope for the future. This story you're writing, it can go any way you want it to. Seeing that power, you can feel that. And going to the north, asking Archangel Uriel to bring that beautiful winter, eternal guidance. Between the west and the north, this is going to clear all these limiting beliefs. This is going to allow all of these events in the past that have happened to just be cleaned, cleared, transmuted, and tagged. Any events in the past where we may be even remembering things that wish to come up right now, things that wish to move through. Allowing this healing to happen, allowing this shift of light to wash out any of these old beliefs and tagging and treating any of those old events, those times where we may have felt unsafe or judged or even created some of these old stories, allowing these old stories to be released right now, doing a massive change history on that. We're going to call forward all of the blessings of the universe, all of these new stories that are ready to just start washing through us. And I want you to ask yourself, what's a gift that you may be hiding from the world? What's something you can do that maybe no one even knows about? Some of these things that you've always known you've had inside of you, perhaps it's your intuition. Perhaps it's teaching other people. Perhaps it's staying grounded for your children so you can keep them in that beautiful theta state as much as possible. And I want you to ask your future self right now as you write this story. I want you to imagine this story being written. It's already written. This chapter is written of what's next for you. It's already done. Knowing this story, putting it on pen and paper, delivering that intention out to the universe. This is a done deal. And imagine flipping all the way to the end of the book. All the way to the end of the book as you're just floating in the water, feeling those roots from your feet still so connected into the ground that roots are actually growing from all throughout your body. And you're able to just tap into this beautiful water at any point. This beautiful light. It's like you have roots that are just absorbing from every element all of the energy that you need right now to clean and clear and transmute. Tagging and treating any emotions that keep us from this end chapter. And I want you to imagine that at the end of the chapter, there's 2 really good snippets of information that you would have given advice to yourself right now, or maybe even your previous self, now that the book is done. What is it you would be telling yourself at this moment? If you had just let go and surrendered, wasn't it beautiful? Aren't you glad, right? These things that your future, so that was the easiest thing you ever did, was just let go. We just thought we didn't know how. We just had so much crud we were carrying around. There's so many outfits as we adapted to different temperatures and different climates. We just put on all the coats and toques and mitts and just didn't realize that we could take them all off in the summer and be free again. What are 2 things at the end of your book that you could take from this story? And I want you to just imagine that feeling of floating in the water and allowing that expansion to happen. Releasing all of the things that don't serve us anymore. Allowing this light to just push through every single energy center, every single glandular system in your body. All of the hormones just regenerating, recycling, getting everything back into working order, calibrating, recalibrating to the frequency of gratitude. And I want you to think of a few things, maybe even just one, that you are so grateful for right now. And picture this end story, this end chapter, and notice that you can write as many more books as you want. Perhaps you're writing a whole new chapter of a book. Perhaps this was a whole book. This new chapter, what is it going to read? What is this story going to be? Is it going to be a hero's journey? Or is it going to be a story of a person that stayed in victim and never let their light shine for others and for themselves? Notice the generational change that can happen just with you shifting your frequency and your vibration right now. Using Mars in retrograde right now to just tap into this divine feminine energy, this action that we need to take in self-care and self-preservation in the most beautiful way. When we connect with self-mastery, we can just fly to wherever it is that we need to go, and we honor ourselves when we take a few moments. And I want you to ask yourself what any aligned action that you could take to line in with this chapter that you just wrote, this new book that you just wrote. If you were to ask all of these beautiful spirit guides in the universe and yourself right now, what is one thing I can do just to move towards creating this chapter, creating this book that I just wrote? If you're not sure, flip to the end and it's there. Was the easiest thing you ever did was just let go and surrender to become that conscious level of allowing the divine energy to move through you, understanding that you are a part of source energy, that you are a direct divine connection, and that you are here for a greater purpose. And choose right now to let that light shine inside of your heart. I want you to imagine a little purple flame starting to spark, starting to glow, and starting to emanate, and clearing and cleaning any other energies that need to happen. That heart, I feel there's this little heart wall that's just, it's ached so many times, it's afraid. So we're just going to transmute that fear, transmute that heart wall, cleaning and clearing all energies around that, doing a massive change history on that heart wall. Creating this new life that we're ready to just uphold and continue writing. And now I want you to imagine that you can raise up your head, you can start to float around in the water, you can control everywhere you go, and every ripple as you move is just emanating through this whole huge body of water. And as you bring your feet down, you can touch the bottom and you can start walking. And you can come back to this circle, just feeling the light energy of all of these beautiful Ascended Masters being there with you. Feeling all the light energy of the earth, the sun, the moon, the eclipses. And I want you to imagine that you're sitting in this circle and it's gotten a little bit darker. And you're imagining a partial lunar eclipse. You're imagining the moon and the sun crossing over each other. And at different points, with the new moon, you really can't see it, but the full moon is coming up. The new moon is all about manifesting what it is that we want. Allow these portals to gift you this beautiful energy, these beautiful ideas. And choose to get grounded to the earth once more as you simply allow any cleaning, clearing, transmuting, and healing of the body to happen right now. Anything you needed to leave behind can be left in this beautiful circle where it would be transmuted down into Mother Earth's energy. And the water just purified and drew away any of those dark stories, any of those limiting beliefs, any of those events, any of those things in the superconscious field that needed to be just floated away today. The water was able to completely heal those for you. And we're going to ground all of this back into the matrix of the universe and into memories and timelines 1, 2, and 3. All past lives, present lives, all old generational traumas, just tagging and treating any of those in the field that needed to be treated. Tagging and treating any of those broken agreements that we've had. I feel like that was a big one. Any broken agreements that have happened in the past, knowing that just because they were broken once doesn't mean they'll be broken again, and we can choose. Relaxing all of your muscles in your body. I'd love for you to just take a few nice receiving breaths, a few deep breaths in, and as you breathe out, notice how much easier it is to breathe out. Almost like you can just keep breathing and breathing and breathing till there's almost no sound, where that diaphragm is empty. And I want you guys to just now imagine the cover picture on this chapter or this book, what you're going to call it, how it's going to feel, how empowering it feels to actually write the story you want to write instead of being someone who's just reading this story that feels like it wasn't even them that was the author. It was all our limiting beliefs, all of what was keeping us safe. And making that choice to take your power back. You can come back to your body, whatever way you feel fit, whether it's just taking that receiving breath or just opening your eyes nice and slowly, wiggling fingers, wiggling toes, feeling that light just continue to move through the body. This time right now is really to show us what we're ready to see and to hear, because these things have come up before. These things have come up before in our life to be let go. We weren't ready for whatever reason, but a lot of them we're really ready for now. And so I want you to embrace these next couple weeks. I will say this full moon is going to be the real big shift of moving the stuff out, because new moon is all about what we're going to manifest, what we're going to write, what we really want. And this full moon and this bookend, this portal closes. I want us to have not missed the boat of manifestation power that we have in these next couple weeks, to truly be empowered by the things that are coming up for us to show us. I don't want this anymore. This is no longer a part of where I'm going, and to truly recognize that, so that in a couple weeks, by the full moon, we can finish letting it all just go, because that light that we create by allowing this space in our bodies and in our auras and in our energy fields is going to be amazing. It's going to be bringing things in that we never imagined, that we never even imagined possible. And with your story, all you needed to know was a feeling that you wanted to have. It doesn't have to be specifics. In fact, more general that you go, sometimes the better. Because we can limit ourselves by how we think things need to happen specifically. Like I need to have $10,000 in my bank account, or I need to have 6 new clients or 6 shows to feel successful. It's just putting another limit on it. Just be as expansive as possible, as far as I just want to have more abundance so that I can share more abundance. More abundance creates more abundance for others. Oh, my body's releasing like crazy. This is beautiful. Things have shifted like crazy. So I'm just going to ask you to imagine Archangel Michael with a sword that can just slice those old cords attached to those old stories, get rid of procrastination, instill motivation. He's such a beautiful spirit guide to tap into when you need that extra motivation or perseverance to sort of move through stuff and get some focus on where it is you go. Even if you just ask, just ask, what do I need to focus on right now? What do I really need to be doing right now? And give yourself a moment to listen for that answer. It's going to come. If it doesn't come right at that very moment, it comes when we're doing the things we love, like just singing or just playing or just painting or just walking or driving or moving our bodies. Think about the things that we know that we need to do, that we maybe have not done yet. So I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out and meditating with me and sharing the beauty of the eclipse portal that we have. It's really a magical place, which is why I keep going on and on about it. But to really truly understand, we haven't had a big portal like this since 2014. So if you are a journaler, go back to 2014, around October, around this time. I get extra excited around this time because it's also when the veil is the thinnest to tap into our intuition. So if you're a little intuitive, holy smokes, is the intuition going to come in right now? The you may even find a new clair, we call it like clairvoyance or clairaudience, or depending on how you have in the past been able to connect. You may find a new way. You might all of a sudden start seeing colors, or you might all of a sudden start hearing sounds that you haven't heard before. You might be really attracted to sound therapy. You might be really attracted to, you're going to just hear something and you're going to be like, oh, I feel that. Feel that, really dive into it right now, because it's only going to bring you more and more clarity. That intuitive veil is so thin, and around Halloween it's the thinnest between spirit world too, so you can often connect with people that have passed, or connect with, I love this. And just say, you know what, I am outgoing. Start retelling that story differently. I am extremely outgoing. I am fun. I love it. I love deep conversations. Ooh, when you feel that, remember having like a super deep conversation where you just connected with someone, where you were like, I could do this all day long? That's the feeling that we need to tap into. That's the feeling that's going to end up overpowering that shyness. It's got to be strong. It's got to be the new, right? The new default state. It's got to be stronger than the shyness. So how can we work that outgoing muscle? And ask Archangel Michael, how can I work my outgoing muscle? And the funniest thing will pop in. Maybe it's teaching guitar online. Maybe it's teaching songwriting to people. How many people out there want to be, it might not be what we think it is, right? I love it. I'll always be outgoing. Yes, I am an outgoing person. I just am. When you go with that vibration, think of how different your dinner would have been. Tapping into that before you go into that family dinner. I am outgoing. I am an outgoing person. I completely accept myself. I love myself. I belong. I can't belong any more or less to this family. So I belong. I belong to the universe. I belong to me. I am outgoing. If we walk into a place like that, feeling like that, every interaction, every reaction, everything is going to be different than it would be if we're in that contracted state of, ugh, I don't belong. So you're already looking for reasons that you don't belong. We'll show up late. We'll, wear something that isn't even, what we would have wanted to wear because we were trying to not be seen. We do everything differently from a contracted state versus an expanded state. That's why it's so important to get into that expanded state. There's places and things and stuff that we do that we're maybe not the most comfortable, right? And it's always an opportunity. And this is it. Feeling that way, feeling that even that contraction is an opportunity to learn. Why am I feeling this way? Ask yourself that before you go in. Why am I feeling like I don't, why am I feeling shy? Why am I feeling contracted? Expand yourself. As soon as you expand into appreciation, into expansiveness, into being outgoing, being that acceptance, right? Acceptance is the vibration you're going into. If you can step into that, you're literally going to create a whole different evening, book, chapter, dialogue. Everything is going to be different. I think of a time even last week where I went into a situation where normally I would kind of feel like I don't belong. I just literally had to have a little talk with myself. This is where I love breath work. This is where I love this work. I have a little talk with myself a lot. I go hide in bathrooms a lot, do a lot of deep breathing, do a lot of sort of self-talk, and literally get myself back into that expanded. And you feel it, right? You feel it contracted versus expanded. I drive my husband crazy. I'm like, what kind of state are we in right now? And he wants to tell me to shove my unicorns and rainbows up where it just doesn't shine. but it's because he's in a contracted state and he doesn't want to hear it. We can get a laugh, right? You can laugh, you can bring yourself into that higher vibration, because you can't laugh and feel shy and sad all at the same time, right? We can only feel when we're the other. We can only be in one state. So let's choose our state. Let's choose the state of joy. Let's choose the state of appreciation. Let's choose the state of abundance and acceptance, simply because we can, because we have that power, right? So thank you so much, you guys, for listening to me Babylon. I will stop the recording, and because my husband's away with my kiddo, I do